16-year-old Melissa Glynn, a student at St Joseph's Girls' School at East Gosford, died of an asthma attack last January, within a few hours of allegedly eating a Chinese meal. Her family now believes that the meal contained high levels of monosodium glutamate, or MSG, and this induced the fatal attack. The St Joseph's School Parliament angered that potentially lethal additives were being added to meals without consumers' knowledge, pressured local member Chris Harcher to take the case to government. 56 health inspectors have now been assigned to take random samples from Thai, Indonesian, Chinese and Japanese restaurants across the state to test MSG levels. Melissa's sister, Katrina, is leading a campaign to have restrictions placed on the chemical.
I'd personally really like it to be banned altogether, but this is a major step and could take years, but at least a warning or something on menus or anything like that, or just a safe level so it's not harmful to the public.
A United States medical paper published in 1987 found that there is a link between MSG and asthma attacks. However, Chinese food is not always the culprit. The flavour enhancer is found in processed, takeaway and prepared foods. However, the coroner's report on Melissa's death did not give any indication of MSG, and the National Health and Medical Research Council has already rejected any ideas of drawing up guidelines for the use of MSG in restaurants. Darren Curtis for NBN News.
The Pearce hit the headlines earlier this month when it ran aground at Sydney's Wanda Beach. The Greek oil tanker, which was empty at the time, was left high and dry for 3 days before salvage crews were eventually able to refloat it. But not before another vessel was beached attempting to do just that, and hundreds of sightseers poured through to see what all the fuss was about. However, once the Pearce was ocean-going again, its crew quickly discovered it was in need of urgent structural repairs if it was to remain afloat. As a result, it limped into Newcastle Harbour several days later for work at Four Jacks floating dock. Today, a spokesman for Four Jacks said the tanker had been in need of extensive repairs and that underwater work had been carried out now for almost a week. As well, the ship's crew had been involved in helping with other vital repairs as a result of the grounding. The spokesman was unwilling to reveal the cost of the repairs, except to say they were substantial. The Pearce is expected to be in the dock for at least another 3 days before it can be declared seaworthy again. The Morisset RSL and Country Golf Club course went under the hammer at Rain and Horn's Sydney auction rooms this morning. With a starting price of $4 million, it attracted spirited bidding from 3 parties. Among them was George Drysdale, a middle-aged Sydney businessman who once in a while takes up his golf sticks for a bash around the Concord course. But even more amazing than his rather casual attitude towards golf is the fact that Mr. Drysdale has never been to Morisset and until yesterday afternoon didn't even know there was a golf course there. The decision to buy it was made on the spur of the moment this morning, after a business colleague suggested the course would be a good investment. Mr. Drysdale told NBN News this afternoon he considered the final price reasonable, but refused to reveal if he has any major development plans at this stage. If he did, the club's former owner, Barwar Holdings, has laid down the groundwork for him, having already received council approval for a massive tourist development covering 32 hectares adjacent to the 18-hole golf course. Also included in the sale was the RSL club premises and its 2 bowling greens. Although the sale did not affect the club's licence, it's been greeted with disapproval from several members who say it's just the latest chapter in the club's gradually losing its local identity to outside interests. Barwar Holdings snapped up the club 4 years ago after it went bankrupt for a meagre $3.5 million. Since then, it's spent time drawing up plans for the resort, which would encompass a 168-room hotel, 72 two-bedroom condominiums and 16 units, as well as tennis courts, swimming pools and conference facilities at an estimated cost of $20 million.
The survey results were part of a key address to visitors to the Research Foundation's first open day in many years. According to Director of Research Dr Wedge Paradise, Newcastle is an unexpectedly attractive destination for Sydney people looking for a day trip. Naturally, the Hunter Vineyards topped the figures, but the city wasn't far behind.
Well, I think we'd traditionally think of other coastal areas, Port Stephens and the like, as being also attractors, but as a day visit area, Newcastle has come up quite well.
The telephone survey revealed that almost 500,000 Sydney people travel to the Hunter during the winter, 90% by motor vehicle. Almost half said they'd come again, and Wedge Paradise says we should be ready for them.
People who are involved in tourism indirectly, the people who are working at service stations or restaurants, or other people that may be providing services to tourists indirectly, also have to realise that they have an important part to play in providing a positive image about the Hunter region.
Meanwhile, tomorrow's Newcastle race meeting will go ahead as planned with apprentices. All the area's senior jockeys are sticking with the strike. Newcastle Jockey Club officials spent yesterday and this morning scouring the state to find apprentices willing to saddle up for the 9-race program.
We're ready to go. We've had no trouble. As a matter of fact, we've had apprentices, masters ringing us to see if we can get rides for their boys. So while ever the apprentices are here, I can't see that the jockeys are really going to worry us.
Terry Smith of the Newcastle Jockey Club said local trainers and owners had thrown their full support behind the club, all keeping their horses in despite the lack of senior jockeys, and nominating again to ensure full fields for next Tuesday's program. Several of those seniors are expected to be in the crowd tomorrow to watch the horses go round, but according to top Newcastle hoop Stuart Plain, there is no danger of any breaking ranks and saddling up. He said all the local jockeys were remaining committed to the strike and would continue to boycott local race meetings until they gained satisfaction.
More than 8 million people and 3 million businesses are listed with just one major credit reference bureau alone. Finance companies, insurance agents, most retailers, car and television rental companies, hotels, travel agencies, real estate agents and other businesses use credit reference bureaus to check on the financial background of individuals and other businesses. It sounds like Big Brother is keeping a very close eye on the shoppers of Australia, but industry representatives say the practice is guided by strict rules and only serves to detect people likely to commit fraud. Within the next few weeks, decisions will be made as to which type of organisations can continue to use credit checking services. So far, only banks, building societies and financial institutions appear likely to be left on the list. The loser in this could be the small business. Could some businesses go to the wall if this is pushed through?
The potential is for small businesses, yes, to go to the wall because of their inability to get adequate credit referencing.
The Chamber of Commerce says the Consumer Affairs Minister has acted far too strongly.
The bill is unnecessary, that we're not against any fair or sensible legislation, but this bill seeks to almost take a sledgehammer to crack a nut, that it is seeking really to protect the potential bad debtor or defaulter, and it should be around the other way.
Large organisations also say they'll suffer if unable to check on potential defaulters.
The NRMA would use the CRA services for the detection of possible frauds on motor vehicle claims and also house insurance claims to detect the financial stability of those people making a claim. I think we've been able to prove over the years that we have been able to detect fraud by simply knowing a person's financial history.
Does the average man in the street have to worry about their background being checked on?
The only person who should worry are those people that have something that they want to hide, and that just could be a fraudulent claim.
Police today guarded Maitland and Cessnock jails while prison officers remained on strike. Prison officers spokesman Kevin Baker says the men decided to walk out after a colleague was sacked last Friday over an incident 2 years ago.
In December of 1987, prison officer Graham Whittingham applied for leave at Cessnock jail, and it was initially knocked back, but he approached the roster clerk who told him that he could change his days around, that is his rostered days off around, and would meet with Graham's requirements for leave. Last Friday he was allowed to work his full shift, called down to the superintendent's office and told that he was sacked on the spot and to return his gear immediately.
The officers are asking for the reinstatement of Graham Whittingham, for him to be suspended on full pay until a full and open inquiry is carried out into the dismissal. A spokesman for the Department of Corrective Services says the union has broken all industrial courtesy rules by not giving notice of the strike and branded the stoppage unnecessary because Officer Whittingham has recourse through the Government Employees Appeals Tribunal. The prison officers will meet again tomorrow, and until they return to work, prisoners will remain locked in their cells. Roy Cox is a paramedic assigned to the Department of Public Safety in Pittsburgh in the state of Pennsylvania. Mr Cox is visiting Newcastle as part of an Australian tour comparing paramedic and rescue services to those in the States. In Pittsburgh, the ambulance service is under the direction of the City Mayor and is funded by local government. The city has 16 ambulances covering a 40-kilometre area, responding to around 12 calls per shift compared to Newcastle's average of 5. Officer Cox says a number of local initiatives could be easily implemented in the States.
Their scheduling is something that we'd be very interested in because it seems to work out better for the morale as well as better for management. In addition, the education programs that they do offer to the public are good for public relations as well as for public health.
Officer Cox also says there's no doubt in his mind who should be handling rescue situations after previous experiences in Pittsburgh.
Rescue and extrication and medicine have to go hand in hand because it could actually shorten the patient's stay in the hospital and maybe make the difference between life and death.
Last night, the University Choir and Orchestra held an open rehearsal of the Requiem in preparation for Saturday night, when they'll be joined by Rita Hunter, Margreta Elkins and Kenneth Collins from the Australian Opera, and bass Grant Dixon from the Conservatorium. An open rehearsal meant just that, and the Lambton Brownies and Guides didn't miss the opportunity to get among the brass. Noted local musical director Father Peter Brock will lead the choir and orchestra in the Requiem, which, although it's based on a religious mass for the dead, is an exciting concert oratorio. This is the television commercial which isn't commercial. Local business has contributed without asking for anything directly in return. The original idea came from Newcastle businessman Peter Bennett, who's worked with it all the way through to fruition, making sure that it's totally non-political and non-commercial.
The business community as a whole has been behind us. When we spoke to them on the phone and told them our aims and everything, they were 100% with us. They didn't ask for commerciality out of it. I suppose we could have gone to the governments for money, but we decided not to. It's a total local entity. It's totally put together by local people, It's a Newcastle thing for the Hunter Valley.
The we Peter Bennett was speaking of includes Lynn Thurnham of Thurnham Tees Advertising, who took up Peter's idea and ran with it.
Sure, I guess the disappointment was incredible for all of us. It is like waking up on Christmas morning and Santa's giving you the big flick, but I think we've got to literally put that behind us and show Australia we're fine.
The commercial was launched officially at a function late today and will make its television debut on NBN tonight. From there, it's off to show the rest of Australia that we're OK, disappointed but not defeated, and ever ready to try again. Just give us the chance.
Developers of the $27 million Peppers Marina at Corlett Point are sceptical about local hotel managers' predictions that tourism is declining in the Shire. The Marina project is based on a study by Port Stephens Shire Council, which estimated an existing shortfall of 700 tourism rooms and caravan sites. The Hotel Motel Association represents about a dozen local operators, including the Ambassador and the Nelson Lodge, both of whom have opposed the Marina Resort outright. But Peppers Resort promoter Ian McAndrew says opposition is being fanned by the Corlett concerned citizens, who've been campaigning against the project for 18 months. He says hotel and motel owners don't realise that Peppers will cater to upmarket customers who will promote the entire district.
All these new people coming to Port Stephens are going to introduce Port Stephens to their friends and to other people, and the roll-on effect will benefit the other motels. That's why I'm so disappointed that the motels and hotels in question related to the Corlett Concerned Citizens request didn't see fit to consult us. Whilst they're regarded as unethical, they're entitled to their view, but obviously we're not competing with their market, we're creating a new market.
Wayne Pearce appeared in an unfamiliar guise at the Drugs in Sports seminar in the David Madison Clinical Sciences building at Royal Newcastle Hospital. Today it was a suit and tie for the Balmain captain, who joined a panel of medical and sports experts. The panel focused on the use of steroids and stimulants by athletes and agreed that the extent of drug abuse in sport was wider than reported. But when it came to the extent of drugs in first grade league, Wayne Pearce said current testing couldn't answer the question.
Those tests aren't as commonplace as they should be. It's random players from random clubs at random times of the year. So, you've got a more chance of finding a needle in a haystack than you have of somebody using the drugs.
A poll of 100 first-grade players conducted by Rugby League Week suggests that steroids and stimulants are being used in the game, but Wayne Pearce said he couldn't verify the findings from personal experience.
In my 10 years of first-grade football in Sydney, haven't had any first-hand experience of anyone that I've played with using stimulants or steroids. As far as steroids go, for a rugby league player, they really don't enhance your performance at all, given the risks, because of the fact that rugby league is not just a power sport. There's so many different factors that go into a rugby league player. It's not like a gridiron lineman or a linebacker, which is a much different game.
The league star suggested that stimulants would be more likely to be used in the game than steroids. The Congress will hear more submissions from sport and medical experts tomorrow when it debates the ethics of drugs in sport.
At dawn, a large squad of police began scouring the man's small property for clues. Scientific and ballistics experts from Sydney joined Newcastle Homicide Squad and local police to try and establish a motive for the killing.
At the stage we're interviewing relatives, his de facto wife and other friends to establish their lifestyle and possible motives for this offence.
At around midnight, Brown, asleep with his 24-year-old de facto wife, was awoken by an intruder. 3 shots were fired, 2 hitting him in the lower part of the body. It is thought the killer then quietly left through the back door of the house. Throughout the morning, distressed friends and relatives arrived to comfort the family. Police worked for more than 6 hours, recording evidence before removing the body for a post-mortem. One of Newcastle's leading Greyhound trainers, Brown was a regular at the Beaumont Park meetings, and in his 20 years of racing, he had won every major staying race at Harold and Wentworth Parks. Tipster Gary Harley says he was one of the great characters in the industry.
John was a regular around the bar area, liked to drink, he liked to talk, he's a very popular man in Greyhound circles, and of course he's not here today and it's not the same.
Police say they are no closer tonight in solving the mystery killing. Peter Ryan, NBN News. They may just look like ordinary household pets, but this group of felines are verging on royalty. Judged in long and short hair and male and female categories, the cats were literally crowned champions in their class. But the title of King or Queen of the show was the real test. Between this short-haired spotted Oriental and this long-haired white Persian. The winner? No, she's not called Fluffy. This is, of course, Medalis Classic Edition. Peter Ryan, NBN News.